Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome and good morning. After the theme of ReUNITED was chosen for this year's conference, we struggled a bit on who to invite to be our keynote speaker. We wanted someone who would not only best convey the premise of our theme, which is about uniting, connection, and the power of our NBIA community, but someone who actually lives it. After some deliberation, it dawned on us that there would be no better speakers to this message than those right here within our own community. These are folks who walk alongside us in this journey, folks who, like us, know about the struggles, the complicated feelings, and the highs and lows of this crazy realm we're all in together. My favorite quote I found that speaks about connection is from Brené Brown. She says, "I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, and when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship." We are so excited to have 6 incredibly brave, strong, and inspirational members of our community up here on stage as our keynote speakers. We thank them for being here to share about themselves and their stories and speak to how the power of this community and the connections they've made have impacted their lives. Some of their stories will be difficult to hear, but we know each word shared up here has the potential to offer you hope, encouragement, empowerment, and the chance to build connections in which you can derive sustenance and strength from. Let's get started.
Good morning. My name is Veronica Bonfiglio, and I'm originally from Argentina. My husband Gaetano is Italian, hence our lovely accents. And we have 2 amazing sons. Julian is 34 and Brent is 30. We live in California in the San Francisco Bay Area, except for Julian, who works in the entertainment industry, so he had to move to LA. But the family wouldn't be complete if I didn't mention our very nice but cheeky cat, Happy. Brent was diagnosed with PCAN in 2003, a couple of months shy of his 11th birthday. I forgot the date. Obviously, not a day I care to remember. The diagnosis felt like a torpedo had hit our home. I'm sure many of you can relate. Well, we needed to come out of the rubble and find hope. We needed to do something despite being told that it may be in vain. Soon after contacting NBIA Disorders Association, I received a packet with tons of information. Research articles, a bunch of newsletters, a list of families, fundraising ideas, and more importantly, an email listserv to connect with other families. I wasted no time and I immediately jumped into that old-fashioned email system to connect with them. The connection was exactly what I needed because it was this community that validated my right to feel hope. I was not delusional for believing that we could do something, and that resignation without a fight was not an option. I felt a profound connection to someone who I have not yet met, named Angelica. I read her story, and it was so similar to ours. Also, her son Dietmar and Brent look so much alike, with their beautiful big brown eyes and radiant smiles. But it was something that she wrote that made a big impression on me. Now, I no longer recall verbatim her words, so I'm paraphrasing here, but it went something like this. If we are sad, our children will be sad. If we're scared, our children will be scared. And if we're happy, our children will be happy. These words became my mantra, especially during those very difficult early years. The last thing I wanted was for Brent and Julian to have an adolescence marked by sadness. So when I would start experience those feelings of despair, helplessness, or anger, I would repeat Angelica's wise words over and over and over until I could compose myself, stop crying, and pull myself out before sinking in too deep into a dark place. She was a lifesaver, and I don't think I ever told her what she did for me. Eventually, we attended our first conference in 2007, and I'll be honest, I had mixed feelings about it. I wasn't sure how our family would be affected by seeing other pecan children and young adults with more aggressive symptoms. But we felt so welcome, accepted. Yes, there was some sadness, seeing some struggling. There was hope, listening to the work of the research team, and frustration at the pace of progress. But there was also a lot of love and understanding. It was incredibly refreshing not to have to explain, to apologize, to just have our guard down. There was no judgment. It turned out to be a wonderful experience, and we left energized and with a renewed sense of hope. Now we look forward for every conference, to reunite with old friends, to meet with new ones, to meet in person those we already met through social media, to enjoy together the picnic, the games, the dessert social, the happy hour, and the downtime to just catch up or go in mass to get a new tattoo. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. It's because of these connections during this undoubtedly the darkest time of my life that I was able to slowly get up, dust myself off, and start rebuilding what the pecan torpedo had destroyed. We held fundraisers, attended conferences, lobbied in Washington, D.C., volunteered with the association, and eventually joined the board. I'm not saying it was an easy or fast process, but connecting with the families who were farther along in the journey encouraged me to follow their lead, to have fun, to enjoy life, and never stop fighting for the cure. Thank you.
Hello, sorry. My name is Michael Cohn. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Getting Better by Mike Cohn, narrated by his niece Leah. Uniting and connecting with people is how I roll. It helps that I grew up a people person and I was not shy. I was a class clown. I went to camp when I was 13 and ended up receiving the nickname Hot Lips. When the female staff would go through our cabin to kiss the boys goodnight, they'd kiss them all on the cheek. I was a little quick on turning my head, so when it was my turn, I would kiss them back on the lips. So, Hot Lips. I have a quick fundraising idea. $5 a kiss. Is anyone interested? Haha. My mom told me that in 1976, I asked a question no parent wants to hear. Will I die because of my disability? She told me that, yes, someday I will die, but how and when and at that time, she did not know. Mom's answer was how we forged a trust and deeper connection as mother and son. This was a turning point for us, and from that day forward, I always got the honest answers. We all had a unique journey to discover our NBIA disorder. I started mine at age 7. The first of 6 different names associated with my disorder was cerebral palsy. Now remember, this was 1975, back in the stone age of medical research. Sadly, it took until I reached age 50 for Dr. Hayflick's team to arrive at the correct diagnosis for me, MEPAN. MEPAN syndrome is a rare genetic disease caused by mutations in the MECR gene. It strikes in early childhood with motor issues that are similar to cerebral palsy. The condition worsens over time, and patients eventually suffer devastating vision loss. There are no proven treatments available. There are only a handful of known people with MEPAN worldwide, and most of them are younger than me. Symptoms usually start in childhood. Affected individuals have trouble with voluntary movement and balance, and often later develop progressive disease of the optic nerves. This means many people with ME-PAN use walkers or wheelchairs, have trouble with their speech, and have varying degrees of vision loss while our intellectual function is preserved. My parents passed 16 and 20 years ago. When they passed, my life took a new path. Learning to live a life more dependent upon myself made me a stronger fighter. Why a fighter? Because if I don't fight every day, then why live? Tools make my life better. Getting my socks on, I use this tool. In my condo, I have a walk-in shower with grab bars. I love to cook for friends as well as for myself. If I don't cook, I could go hungry, and I never go hungry. My walker and my scooter are two more tools I use in my day-to-day life. They have been crucial in enabling me to work in the community. Turning 50 was like starting a magic clock. My body is getting better as the result of being more active. Activity is a strong motivator. Setting a daily routine has been key to improving body, mind, and soul, and a lot of my current activity is from work. 5 years ago, I started working for the NFL in Minnesota at the Minnesota Vikings team store called The Locker Room, not to be confused with the team's locker room. I'm nobody's towel boy. I had found my dream job, stocking the shelves with game day merchandise and apparel, interacting with the fans of the team from all over the world, and ringing up their purchases. Having people set high expectations for me was a game changer. Having a company require me to put in an 8-hour shift became another motivator for me. In May of 2021, I started my Best security job. Best Crowd Management is a global company. Concerts, sporting events, trade shows, and any public event where safety is key, you'll see my team there. Over the last 2 years, I have had some amazing opportunities. I have been asked to guard the stage and some of the gear overnight for big-name rock acts like Joan Jett, Poison, Def Leppard, just to name a few. I have been in charge of directing 22 trucks into the venue to unload all the gear necessary to pull off these shows. While there were many others assigned to a variety of other posts, I was the only one best entrusted with these duties. I've also been asked to guard the Disney on Ice pre-show kids party backstage. You might think that I would have become accustomed to the high-profile clientele and opportunities they present, but I'm still thrilled every time Best trusts me with these types of posts. I plan to get a 40-hour-a-week job soon, and 2 years from then, I hope to be off any government funding. Nose surgery last year was another game changer. Who knew getting oxygen to your brain makes such a big impact? Yes, unlike the scarecrow, I do have a brain. Spending 35 years breathing through one part of my nose created challenges. Now I can eat without gagging or using my finger to help me chew. Now I can move my tongue better. Nose and tongue control, in turn, improve brain control. Due to that fact, I keep making bigger, better life plans. I've learned over the years that this community is important. My involvement in this community, attending these conferences, giving speeches, helping with fundraisers, and being a voice for ME-PAN and NBIA has not only enriched my life, but helped many others feel less alone. I've made so many meaningful connections and lifelong friendships here. When someone comes up to me to tell me that I inspire them and thanks me for sharing my journey, I feel grateful. If I can make an NBIA family's life better, then heck yes, my story is helpful. If one kid does not need an unnecessary test, medication, or shot because of my journey, that makes me happy. I will never forget the many beautiful moments I've shared with this community over the years at these important conferences, such as DJing and dancing with your children, bringing smiles to their faces in my Minion costume, and this special moment of being able to share my journey and story with you. I see a lot of new faces this year, and I'm so happy to share and connect with you all. Please stop and say hi to me, I'm known as Uncle Mike, and ask any questions you'd like. Welcome to the 12th International NBIA Disorders Association Family Conference. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kallan Ritzman. I'm an undergrad student at University of California, Davis, and I'm from Oakland, California. and it's been 10 years since my sister Josie was diagnosed with PLAN. My family's involvement with the NBIA Disorders Association has been an indispensable source of support, community, and hope in our roller coaster of an NBIA journey. When Josie was a baby, she was what most people might call normal, but soon Josie wasn't reaching the milestones that most infants do. I am only 3 years older than Josie, so normal for me has always been having a sister with limited abilities. I found that as I grew older, it was kind of difficult for me to explain Josie to others. People would often ask, "What does she have?" And since we didn't have a diagnosis, I didn't really have a satisfying answer. And Josie would go to doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment, but no one could quite explain what was going on. And the hardest part about all of this is that she kept losing abilities, and we had no idea how to help. Finally, in 2012, when Josie was 8 years old, we went to the National Institutes of Health Undiagnosed Diseases Program in Washington, D.C. And at last we received a diagnosis. And to find out that your sister has a rare genetic degenerative disease is a lot to wrap your head around at age 11. Actually, I think it is a bit difficult to do at any age. But then I found out that we were going to take a trip to San Antonio the next year, and I was super excited because I love traveling with my family, and I had never been to Texas. And since then, the NBIA Disorders Association has had quite a large impact in my life that I did not expect. My sense of community within the NBIA Disorders Association has slowly grown over time. At first, I only felt involved at conferences, where I've had the opportunity to meet new people who are on the same path as my family. At one of the conferences, I became friends with another NBIA sibling because of our similar experience of growing up with a sister with NBIA. We could both relate to the normalcy of having a sister with a rare disease and helping other people connect to our siblings. The majority of families I know in the NBIA community I originally met at these conferences. My sense of involvement increased even more when I got to see some of them in events outside of these conferences. In 2018, there was a campaign called the Rare Carousel of Possible Dreams. It was a campaign to increase awareness of rare diseases and encourage people to celebrate and donate to Rare Disease Day, which happens every February 28th or 29th on leap years. My dad decided to visit as many carousels in the Bay Area as possible with Josie and me, and then post about them on Facebook to celebrate and raise awareness. That year, we also went to the Global Genes Rare Disease Day celebration in San Francisco, where we met up with a local NBIA family, the Bonfiglios. Many family and friends also participated in the celebration through their generous donations. Being involved with Rare Diseases Day that year showed me that fundraising really built our NBIA community. I think my appreciation for the NBIA Disorders Association increased even more when I joined the development committee in 2020. We increased public awareness of NBIA and build community within our association. Working as a team, we have spearheaded other campaigns throughout the years. And I think my favorite was the Show Your Stripes campaign that we did in 2021 for Rare Disease Day. We sent out a request for photos of our NBIA zebras or loved ones with a small description about them, and so many people responded. Looking through all the submissions, I could just tell that we are an organization powered by our love for our NBIA family and friends. As a community, our lives may include more occupational therapy sessions, diaper changes, or G-tube feedings than the average person. But our NBIA loved ones bring light into our lives with their smiles, their laughs, or their mere presence. We all have the common goal to do all we can for them, and this makes us a team. We are working together to raise money, we are working together to fund research to find a cure, and we are working together to care the best we can for our loved ones with NBIA. And by working together, we are building hope. And this is why the NBIA Disorders Association is so valuable in my life. It helps me know that I'm doing something for my sister, even when my options are limited. The NBIA Disorders Association is truly an essential source of hope and a community. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cheryl Lamos. And how y'all doing? I thought I'd try to maybe do a little Texas accent. Okay, y'all. I have a story to tell you. My story starts in 1995. At that time, I was a single parent of 4 children. Becky, my oldest, was 18. Oh, they got the pictures up there, great. And Bruce was 17, my redhead, and Barbara, my towhead, was 15, and little Ben was only 10. He ended up being the biggest, though, of course, but he was the youngest. So around age 16, my daughter Becky was found to be extremely clumsy, and we couldn't figure out why, and I think my doctor had a clue before he kind of told me that something more serious might be wrong. We did a lot of tests, blood tests, skin tests, different doctors' visits. We finally got an MRI scan that showed iron deposits in the brain. And I remember the neurologist pulling out a textbook, showing me a picture of an MRI. This looks just like your daughter's MRI. And I was like, woo. I'd been a nurse for over 20 years. I'd been a nurse since I was 21. And I had never heard of this. And at the time, very little information was known. The condition was only diagnosed post-mortem, I believe, until the advent of the MRI scan. And my pediatrician, a lovely gentleman, he had a little textbook, and he Xeroxed a copy of a small paragraph that had 5 or 6 sentences. Remember, this was 1995. And it didn't say much. It just said, Hallervorden-Spatz disease involved spastic paraplegia with a degenerative course ending in an early death. That's really all I can remember, but I can remember, this couldn't possibly be true for my beautiful, beautiful children. And sad to say, Hallervorden and Spatz were 2 bad German guys, so we'll try to forget about them. We were sent to a specialist in New York City. More tests were done. Poor Becky was a guinea pig. She even had a lumbar puncture and other invasive procedures. And we decided, well, we have to check the MRIs of everybody. So Bruce and Barbara had the same iron deposits, sad to say, even though they didn't show many symptoms. But Ben did not. So this meant that 3 out of my 4 children had this rare disease. Now I can tell you, for 5 years, I buried my head in the sand. I was in denial. And denial is something we all go through. But this made no sense to me. I was numb. Being a single parent, and I don't mean to diss their father, because I do love him, but he wasn't there for me emotionally. I was lonely about it. I didn't know what to do. I was lost, and I had a lot of denial. And if you have denial, I totally understand. Because up until this point, my kids had met the normal, what I considered normal, growth and development milestones. Like, they didn't have any problems in school. They learned to read. They learned to roller skate, ride their bicycles, interact. I mean, I couldn't make sense of the little information I was given initially. I couldn't make sense how it could possibly be true. But in those 5 years, I did begin to see changes in Becky that I just could not ignore. Her gait deteriorated. She used a cane for a while. But I was very lucky in the year 2000 to meet a wonderful gentleman, Dr. Joseph Higgins. And he already knew Dr. Susan Hayflick. And he was almost excited because now he was a pediatric neurogeneticist. And he happened to be at Albany, New York for a short time, Albany's not a very big city, because his wife was there. And it was divine intervention that I met this man. He was excited because he knew what this was. He knew Dr. Hayflick. He had done a paper. I can't remember the name of it, but he gave me a copy. But he had done a paper about this. So thank God I met him, and I met a genetic counselor at the same time. I can't remember his name, but he was wonderful. And don't underestimate the power of a genetic counselor, I can tell you that. So because of Dr. Higgins and his genetic counselor, I found out about the support group. The counselor gave me the little newsletter that Patty, he told me there's this wonderful mother out in California, and she started this support group, and her name was Patty Wood, and they had a little newsletter, and their emblem at that time was like the rainbow, hope, and we certainly did need hope. So I was excited about that because it was time to get my head out of the sand. So I found out in 2000, but I missed the first conference. So I'm pretty sure the first conference and the one 2 years ago were the only two I've missed. So the first time in 5 years, I thought maybe I wouldn't be all alone or feel so all alone. One of the hardest things is when you see other people talking about their children and the wonderful things they're doing, and they're going on to college, et cetera, and I remember before I had enough courage to share with other people the news of what I had found out, that was, what's the best word? It was devastating, actually even hurtful. They weren't meaning to hurt me, but I was hurt inside because I had a feeling my kids weren't going to have the same path as their kids. My kids were going to have problems, and at first I didn't even know how to share the news with other people. But when I went to my first conference, things definitely changed in 2002. I met Mike Cohn in 2002. I met Donna Hilton and Ashley Middledorf in 2002. And Dr. Hayflick, Dr. Hogarth spent like an hour with Becky and Barbara. I was just amazed. I felt so much better, I can't even tell you. Now, Bruce was supposed to come to that first conference, but he took a fall down the stairs and suffered a concussion, and he was in the hospital. And so his father did stay with him. So unfortunately, he never got to meet Dr. Hogarth and Dr. Hayflick. But the most important thing about that first conference, I met a family who only lived 20 miles from me with 2 young girls, lovely family. Unfortunately, the 2 young girls are some of our NBIA angels, but that was so helpful to have somebody close to me. We could talk, we could get together, we did fundraisers together. So as a single mother without really the help of anybody else, the emotional, mental, physical impacts that all this stuff would have in my life, it was just so much more helpful connecting with people. Connecting with people is hope. So I remember leaving the conference in 2002 with hope, and that is an absolutely wonderful thing. I also met another family who lived in the Boston area, and the family near me and me and my kids, we went out to Boston for a fundraiser with them too. And so it was just nice to start connecting with other people that were close to you geographically. And I felt so much hope and inspiration seeing the work of Dr. Hogarth and Dr. Hayflick. They donated their time and energy, as they continue to do with every conference, spending umpteen hours with families and children and trying to answer questions and giving us suggestions to doctors in our area. And she said, "You're good with Dr. Higgins, stick with him." And I did for about 10 years. But then, unfortunately, he was only in the Albany area for a year. He moved a little farther south. I could still connect with him, but then he wasn't seeing patients anymore. He went to run a genetics lab or something. So I was sad at that point. But I had learned a lot from him, and we probably had 10 years with him. So just to say, I bonded with people at that conference and every conference that followed. I've kept in contact with families via the internet, via Facebook, and I just felt very empowered to contribute with the mission of finding a cure, fueling research for the disease, and to do something, because like Veronica said, I want to be happy, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help my children. I think we are all aware how rare this is. For NBIA in general, it's 1 to 3 people per million people worldwide are affected. And my children's particular subtype is genetic, so I've passed on a defective gene to my children that match a similar defective gene that their father had. So I've had to deal with that guilt, and I did for quite a few years. Saw a counselor, which was a good thing, because I just couldn't waste energy feeling guilty. My kids were fortunate enough to have a later onset and had some normalcy for many years, but as the disease progressed, their lives did get more difficult. They were not able to keep up with their peers. My oldest daughter, Becky, was attempting to go to college. In 1995, she had just graduated, and she was attempting community college. She even rode the bus to get there, and she did a lot of walking all over our area, but I did not realize at the time that it was going to be beyond her cognitive ability. The college tried to work with her, and I give everybody credit for what they did, but then we just realized it was not going to work out. Now, we've tried many things, medications, Botox injections, AFOs to keep them walking and support their legs. And with, each child has their own course. And with Barbara, my attempt was, I saw Becky go downhill at an earlier age. Barbara had a little slower progression, so Barb is still with me. And I tell you, I kept her walking as long as possible, probably a little longer than I should. But I know once you stop walking, once you don't use it, you lose it. So we've done our best. Unfortunately, my son Bruce passed in 2005. He went first, but he always had to be first in everything. If you knew Bruce, you'd understand. He had another genetic defect that caused him his blood to clot. So a blood clot got him. He had a wonderful job. I do have to tell you, he was an inspiration. When he passed, it was unexpected because of a blood clot. And he had some job training through a state agency, and he got a job working for New York State, sorting and delivering mail in the state education department building. And I never knew how many people's lives he touched until after he passed. People who rode the bus with him, people who worked with him. And it was just, sometimes you don't know this about your child until something like this happens. But things were just beginning to get difficult for Bruce. He even had his license and he drove. I mean, he was the most active of all of them. Okay, I will wrap it up. Becky passed in 2013. Barbara's with us. She's going to be 43 on May 26th. My journey has certainly not been easy, and I've had times of great depression, questioning how to go forward, but this group has been very supportive. I can't stress enough how much being a part of this community has helped me. It's helped me share my story. I've even been interviewed with somebody on TV. I've done fundraising. I've stepped outside my comfort zone, Ben would say, and I've done things I never thought I would do. And I don't know if any of you people are new, there have been wonderful, wonderful advancements in the 23 years since 2000. So hang on to hope, because scientists all over the world are collaborating. There is hope. Don't give up. And we're seeing amazing things. And I'm going to finish. And also, I'm very grateful to Patty Wood, I can't say that enough, for having the courage to start this support group, because that certainly couldn't have been easy. I'm a big supporter of the Serenity Prayer, and it's one of the things I like to say to myself. If you're not familiar, I'd like to read it for you now. Dear Lord, please grant us grace to accept with serenity the things that can't be changed. Give us courage to change the things that should be changed, and wisdom to distinguish one from the other. And I'll leave with sharing that hope with all the new families. And if you want to, please meet me and connect with me, because I can tell you lots of stories. Thank you.
don't know that I can get us back on track with the schedule, but we'll give it a shot. I was told I had 5 minutes, but that if I went over, that would be okay. And for those who know me, I can get a little chatty. So, good morning, and thank you for joining us this year. It's really inspiring to see so many people coming together and connecting. Many of you I met 4 years ago at my first conference. So a little bit about me. My name is Jeff Gartman. I promised I wouldn't do this. I'm Levi's dad.
Okay. Hang in there. You can do it. Yep, you got it. Absolutely.
Sorry.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
So, Levi's my warrior angel. He passed away last March after a very strong fight. So, I live in South Windsor, Connecticut with my wife, Danielle, and my unaffected daughter, Lila. So, Levi was very young, and we knew something just wasn't right. You know, like you've heard from all of these stories, we went on our medical journey to get an answer. He was diagnosed in October of 2018 at 6.5 years old. And we knew he'd been for a really long, bumpy ride without a happy ending. But we really had no idea what that journey would look like. And as many of you have heard, everybody's story is different. And of course, we felt like we were the only ones. So throughout his life, Levi was a happy and goofy kid who preferred joking around over anything serious. He loved everything. And he really was a ray of sunshine who could make any room brighter, make a bad day better with his smile, and sometimes a smirk. Especially that red one, over in the corner there. He had a unique belly laugh, or a dolphin laugh. I can't even try to recreate it. He had these over-the-top scream scares when he couldn't stop talking. He would enter a room and just kind of go, ah, and get everyone to try to jump. And who could forget that mohawk that he proudly wore on a regular basis? He got mad when we decided it needed to be cut down because school said, well, we measured it today and it was 4 inches tall, and we kind of got the hint. He loved school, characters like Mickey, Pete the Cat, Captain Hook. I didn't know Peter Pan wasn't his favorite. Captain Hook was his favorite in that movie. And he had knock-knock joke for every day of the week. My favorite was Margarita Monday and Thirsty Thursday. No matter how many curveballs life threw his way, Levi remained positive and happy. And he really taught us patience, perspective, and appreciation for the little things. And he taught us that parenting was going to be a different ballgame. I mean, he had 4 parents, me, his mother, and each of our spouses. So that if that wasn't different from the beginning, he really taught us that life filled with more silly things was better. And he really lived life to his fullest. He just enjoyed every minute. Some have said that special needs kids have a way of being present and in the moment, not caring about what others think or say, and just coming across as happy all the time. So, why am I here now? Not to sit here and sob. Last summer, I was thinking about how I could be helpful to other families. And I found so much value in this community. So, thought I should try to give back in some way. Whether it's doing some volunteer or fundraising work, I'm not so good at that part, but sharing experiences or just being there for support, listening to your stories. So when Sarah approached me last year about an opening on the board, I thought, great, it's a perfect opportunity. And Sarah and I had connected in that conference back in 2019. So while no story is the same, having each other helps us be better informed and prepared for what our warriors endure. So I'm here because I want you all to feel the same sense of community that I did and still do. So we attended the family conference in 2019, and it was at that conference we started to rely on hope, the idea that you take one day at a time, one challenge at a time, and you never give up. So I had very little expectations. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know who we would meet. Levi was still really functional at that time. He walked, he talked, he ate. He, not well, but he got by. And I remember him toddling down the long hallway and towards where the ballroom was, and meeting a few other kids along the way. And I said, holy crap, there's a whole bunch of other little Levis, like people who I know what I'm dealing with, and he can see other kids who are just like him. There was actually another kid named Levi there too. So realized that we weren't alone, and we had this community of people that understood exactly what we were dealing with. So that power of connection is hard to explain, but it's there. We're in this club that we didn't know existed. We were volunteered to be in, as I think I heard yesterday in the new families session, probably don't want to be in, and we all relate, but we're all here together. It brings a new meaning to, I know how you feel. So there's nothing quite like relating to each other just because you have this shared experience. And because of this, when something comes up, the community is here for you. So as I mentioned before, that weekend 4 years ago, we made several PCAM parent connections, many of which I maintain today and some of which are in the room today. We were all on our distinct journeys, but we still had things to share. Whether it was about a medical decision that had been made, things we should think about in the future, and it was really helpful to hear things like why parents made certain decisions, what medicine combinations helped, and what other signs to look for. We heard so many times, I wish we'd done it sooner, in particular about Levi's G-tube surgery, which ended up unfortunately being an emergency, even though we had made the decision we're going to do it. We'd already made up our mind, but we said, you know what, this community really helped us do that, and we said we weren't really afraid of that anymore. Another example was we needed a safer sleeping solution because his bed wasn't working, so I reached out to other parents and said, hey, what are you doing? So when we fast forward to 2021, we saw Levi slowing down in a lot of areas, and it's hard because you don't see it every day. We make these little adjustments, we make medication dosage changes, and your head is a little bit in the sand for a different reason about everything that's going on. So we knew Levi's little boy, he's a little boy. He didn't get the big kid genes from his mother or I, but we knew his little body was getting tired, and he had stopped eating, talking, walking. The dystonia and discomfort had gotten pretty bad. And I remember a phone call with Penny and Allison. So, he struggled with breathing. He was sleeping a lot. So, he said it's time to make sure that he was comfortable, right? And so we turned to that community again. And, we went from how do we make sure he keeps doing everything day to day to what's best for him, and how do we keep him comfortable. And so we reached out to another angel parent, and it was a bit of an unfiltered information conversation. And none of our doctors really wanted to talk about death. They were all like, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. we started, as I said before, we started to really understand the meaning of making Levi comfortable and prioritizing his quality of life, even if it meant more sleeping at school. And we have what I think is the best special ed department in the entire state of Connecticut. And they understood every step of the way that Levi's happiness was more important than, did he understand this, that, or the other in third grade. In fact, Levi was in school right up until the day before he died. So, they say timing is everything, right? In the fall of 2021, much against everything that I wanted in the house, we decided to get a puppy. And we named him, I don't know if he made one of the pictures there. We named him Simba. The Lion King was one of the movies on repeat in our house, right along with Peter Pan and Bluey and a few other things. And let me tell you, the smile on Levi's face the day that we came home to a puppy was priceless. Levi's face just lit up. And Simba really gave Levi comfort that we couldn't. He intuitively understood that he was to be gentler with Levi than us. And for those of you who have ever had a puppy, you know that they can be wild. And Simba grew quickly, because he's a standard golden doodle, he's 75 pounds now. And he's rough with us, but he was always so gentle with Levi. And I do think the dog wonders what happened to the little human in the wheelchair. One of my favorite memories is Simba getting into Levi's lap on the wheelchair and licking his face over and over and over, all while Levi laughed and laughed. And then Simba would curl up in Levi's bed, sometimes sitting just above his head. I know Levi absolutely loved having a dog, and apparently he told his teachers at school that he wished we had done it sooner. Because actually the teachers didn't believe him when he indicated that he has a dog. It was one of those like, oh, did anything change at your house? And pointing to pictures, and anyway. So, I'll leave you with a phrase I read recently. When one must, one can. You are all strong advocates for your affected loved ones. You will stand up and do whatever you need to, and I assure you that you will have this community to rely on. And I hope you're able to make your own connections this weekend, or continue the connections you already have, as I'll help carry you forward in your journey as they do mine. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Stronsky, and I was very nervous stepping up here this morning. And I now know I can do it, so thank you. As I said, I'm Paul. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. My wife, Christine, is right over there. And she and I have a daughter whose name is Quinn. She's 8 years old. She's a really funny little girl. And she was diagnosed with BPAN on September 2nd, 2016. The appointment was 1 p.m. in the afternoon at Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C. When we're at Children's Hospital, I could still point out that room. So unlike a few others who've forgotten, I will never forget, because it was the worst day of my life. I was in shock. I was angry. I suddenly had a life I didn't expect. My dreams for my daughter vanished overnight, and selfishly, my dreams vanished too. I was depressed. As my wife knows, I was hot-tempered, and I still can be hot-tempered. I cried a lot, and I drank a lot. When we were diagnosed, our doctor gave us the information about the NBIA Disorders Association. They gave us the phone number of Oregon Health Sciences University, and they gave us all the links for the Facebook groups. But neither Christine nor I really were ready to connect. We didn't want this life. I honestly didn't know what to say. I mean, I told my immediate family, but didn't know what to say to everybody else. Didn't know how they would react, and some people reacted wonderfully, and some people did not. And I don't think I really wanted to accept that this was our new reality. So one of the things I am just amazed about today and this week is seeing all those people who are here for their first time at this conference. I'm so glad you're here, and I wish I had the bravery that you have, particularly those who were recently, very recently, as one of the gentlemen I sat next to last night, because when I finally got brave enough and signed up for the Facebook group, it changed my life. Our first conference was in 2017. It was in Chicago. And when I entered that ballroom, I was terrified. But you all welcomed me, you welcomed Christine, and you welcomed our daughter immediately with love and compassion. I realized immediately that you are my people. You accepted us, you understood us, and you did not judge us, or when Quinn screamed, or when she tripped me in the hallway yesterday. We all come from different backgrounds. We come from different places. We have different forms of NBIA, and we're all in different stages of our lives. But what we share is this. Unless you're living with NBIA as a caregiver or as someone with the disease, you really don't understand our lives. You don't understand the pain, the emotional pain, or the physical pain. You don't understand the fear for the future, or for the fear when your child is having a seizure and you have to put your hand on her stomach to make sure she's still breathing because you're not sure. The sheer exhaustion, all that medical stuff that is scattered around our house that you really can never put away. All those times in the ER where you're explaining to the doctor what's going on. You know more than they do, and you really know that that doctor is in a back room Googling NBIA. So that's what we all share. We all share, and I think today, particularly, I'm inspired by these two people. I'm inspired by the families who've gone before us, who continue to guide us in this journey, give us advice. It is essential, and I am so thankful for it. And I'm so thankful for all those who have lost their loved one but are still there for us and offering us guidance and comfort. At that first conference, I was inspired by Mike. I think it was his 50th birthday at that first conference. Sorry for outing you on your age, but you already said it. But what Mike was the first person, we sang him happy birthday. Many of us probably remember that. It was really hot outside. And I realized you can live life. You can love life. You can be happy. You can be funny. You can entertain little kids. And that was wonderful. And suddenly my vision of our future kind of changed a little bit. I am always inspired by Patty for setting this organization up, and extremely grateful for her and her family and this extended family. I'm inspired by our Houston tribe, who it's just amazing what they do. They've created this incredible community that I think inspires us, and I hope all of us will be able to replicate that. And I have a sense we might, because when Quinn was diagnosed, we were the only people in the Washington, D.C. area with NBIA. Now there's about 6 or 7. I don't like that fact, but I also find a little comfort in it. The Houston Tribe is also a fundraising machine, and as we know, and I'm thankful for that, we also know they're a conference organizing machine, and thankful for that. So what else does this community mean to me? First of all, it's fun. I like seeing you. I like seeing you on Facebook. I liked seeing you during the pandemic in Zoom. That conference was a lifesaver 2 years ago. I like the picnic we're going to have tomorrow, the big dance party. Everybody needs to bring their dancing shoes because I'll be there. That is one of the pictures of us, of the NBIA team. I think it was last year, maybe the year before, at the $1 Million Bike Ride. That is a lot of fun. That is when a lot of the families with NBIA on the East Coast get together for a fundraising event. We throw our pain away for a day, get on bikes, and ride through Philadelphia, and the entire community is rooting us on virtually and helping us fundraise. It really picks me up and makes me very happy. And next to that is our daughter, Quinn. After, I think, one of those days, she climbed the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia, and we were celebrating on the top because she had never climbed anything like that before. As I said, I like seeing you. A couple years ago, I travel for work a lot, and I just happened on Facebook to post that Paul Stronsky was in the Washington airport and he was headed to Toronto. By the time I landed in Toronto, 2 hours later, I had a dinner invitation from an NBI family. When I showed up at their house the next day, or 2 days later, I met not only the entire family and a full spread of everything, but I saw their house, I saw all the gadgets, all the ideas that they had. I met Grandma and Grandpa and an uncle, and it was wonderful. And I kind of decided to do that again. I met Matt at his office outside of San Francisco. I've met several people at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. We just happened to all be there at the same day, and let's go have lunch. We've had a few people come through Washington. And please, if you are ever in the Washington, D.C. area, let us know. You're welcome at our house. And so that has been wonderful as well. So in conclusion, I just have a couple things to say. So what does this community mean to me, really? Well, I know you all have my back. You don't judge me, and you don't judge my daughter. Instead, you understand us, you understand our family, and you understand what we're going through. You celebrate us like you just did when I told you where Quinn was. You grieve with us when things aren't going right, and you are rooting for us just like we are rooting for all of you. So what has this community done for me? It's helped me go from being angry and bitter to celebrating our lives and learning how to live it. So thank you very much.
Can I just please ask all our keynote speakers to stand up one more time? Veronica, Mike, Kallan, Cheryl, Jeff, and Paul, thank you for sharing such powerful messages. Oh, wow.
I'm taking the ramp.
I've heard a lot of keynote speakers over the years, and for me, that was my favorite ever. So, thank you so much. We are running a little bit behind, so we're just going to take a 10-minute break. It's right outside the doors, so get something to eat, go to the bathroom quick, and come back so we can make up a little bit of time. Thank you.